So, what is identity, right? Well, identity basically is trust. It's an innate thing that human beings have to do. It starts from a very young age. Your mother had to identify which, has to identify which child she has to look after, because it's to do with resource management. And it's trust. You need to trust that you are looking after the person. You need to trust that you're talking to the person you think you're talking to. And it's a very important part of the human condition. And we need to trust that we are effectively spending resources and achieving the goal that we want to achieve. So what about identity before blockchain? Well, identity before blockchain was a very different thing, right? And to understand this, we need to understand how cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin relates to our digital identities. So let's look at our digital identity before blockchain. Now, before blockchain, most people's attitude towards protecting their online identity was pretty nonchalant and non-existent. Most people had the same password. It was a memorable family name, 123, and this was to protect their digital assets, their digital identity. Now, what is a digital asset? Well, a digital asset is something that you own that is recorded or stored digitally. It can be the photos on your phone to quarterly reports. These are your digital assets, and they can build up a sort of identity of yourselves digitally. And this is the problem. The majority of people still don't really care about their conversations. They don't really care about their emails. They don't even care about their photos, right? And in 2014, people didn't even care about their sexy photos. Celebrities had a vulnerability in their iPhones broken, which basically meant that hackers got access to their not suitable for work photos. So, who remembers Celebgate, the fappening? The whole point is that even celebrities couldn't keep their digital assets safe. And these digital assets to the celebrities were very, very valuable. Like, film producers would have paid millions to have those digital assets feature in their films. But it was plastered all over the internet for free because they didn't care about protecting their digital identity. And I mean, this goes even further, right? Less than 2 years ago, the contents of the president-elect's inbox wasn't sacred. And Hillary Clinton's email inbox was compromised and then spread all over WikiLeaks for the whole world to see. And what happened? She went from being favorite to winning the presidential election to not winning. I mean, these types of issues with regards to protecting of your digital identity, these are what happens when it just hits the mainstream. Identity fraud, data mining, revenge publication of private material are all on the increase. And this has left us with a huge inherent problem. Now, Bill Gates actually came across and he said that Bitcoin is better than currency. Last week, he gave some statements. Well, not last week, 2 weeks ago, he gave a statement that kind of contradicted that in Reddit Q&A, but we're not going to talk about that. This is something he's previously said. And if there is anyone that can explain sort of how some ones and zeros have value, it's the guy that founded the company that spends a lot of money making sure that you haven't pirated Microsoft ones and zeros and you have that license key. So first and foremost, they need to know that you're not a thief, and they need to trust that you brought their license to use their software. And here he is stating, that Bitcoin is better than currency. Do you need to trust currency? Do you need to trust that your currency will have value when you take it to the merchant? Of course you do. You cannot, if you or your merchant doesn't trust that the currency has value, then there is no value to that currency. And people I know, and myself included, I've had situations where I've had to ask myself if the cash that I've received could be counterfeit. And I've had situations where I've checked my bank balance and I couldn't believe the figures I was seeing. So there was an element of mistrust that I had to mitigate by doing further, by looking into it further. And this is the thing, your currency is an asset. It is something that should belong to you. And it can be counterfeited. And like digital currency, counterfeits can exist, for example, with digital banking and mobile banking. And I've actually been a victim of that myself. Somebody managed to compromise my mobile banking application, and they managed to get access to my funds, and they tried to take £630, but they were only successful in getting £130. But that's the thing, right? That's never happened with any of my Bitcoin wallets, by the way. So for any currency to work, a certain amount of trust by both the merchant and the consumer needs to be achieved. So how does cryptocurrency achieve this? Well, this is the thing, right? When cryptocurrency in the form of Bitcoin came along in 2008, and along with it blockchain technology, value could now be attributed to data, and an identity could now be in control of that data with a private key. Even better than that, the data could be an unreproducible financial asset. You couldn't duplicate it. It wasn't copied, and it could only have one owner. But how? How does this happen? Since when did data, ones and zeros, become valuable? Well, this is the thing. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the first blockchain-based protocol, as I said in the beginning, and it is the blockchain proof of concept. Blockchain is an umbrella term for many technologies. It is a protocol technology in a very similar sense to the internet protocol. Now, the internet protocol is a mathematical algorithm. It's a set of rules governing the format of data sent over the internet. And the first internet protocol application was, as I said earlier, email. Now, Ray Tomlinson sent the first email in 1971, and nearly 20 years later, Tim Berners-Lee created the second layer for the internet protocol, which was the World Wide Web, which allowed second layer applications to be built on the internet. And in the beginning, in 1989, they were really rudimentary, and they were literally just used by universities to sort of peer review scientific journals. But here we are today. You're watching me on the World Wide Web on a live Facebook or YouTube or Twitter feed, and you're getting and we can communicate with each other anywhere around the world instantly. So we've come a long way with applications on the internet-based protocol, and we're still at the very beginnings of the blockchain-based protocols. And that's the thing. Blockchain is a set of protocols governing the issuance and verification of data. And the protocol is still in its infancy, and currency is the easiest and simplest application to run because it's only numbers. And in the same way, email was the simplest and least demanding protocol for the internet, currency is the least demanding application for blockchain. And that's what it is in the simplest possible terms. It verifies data, and it allows for an environment where you don't need to trust. The only thing that you need to trust is mathematics and algorithms, because that's essentially what blockchain is. And it's immensely great for data. But the question is, what does this mean for you and me? What can this do to our lives right now? What has blockchain done for the current state of identity data security, right? It's fair enough talking about all the things that could be achieved in the future, but what is going on here? Right. Well, the fact of the matter is we're still in really early days of what we can do with this protocol. Currently, we've only got 3 applications. First that are past sort of proof of concept, so they're a bit more mature, these applications. First application, as you can see in the basket, is currency. The second application that you can do with blockchain is data management and smart contracts, as you can see with that facts. Now, the third one was actually born sort of last year, and it's mainly for the millennials, and of course those are crypto games such as Crypto Kitties, and that was the first official decentralized game that was past proof of past proof of concept. It also took down the Ethereum network whilst it was being tested. But then it spawned others, so you've now got the likes of Tron Dogs, Neopets, and so forth. And all of these things are autonomous, decentralized, peer-to-peer applications, very similar to the torrent peer-to-peer applications that existed a decade ago. Now, but what sets blockchain-based applications apart from previous peer-to-peer applications is that when you downloaded a peer-to-peer file, you couldn't be 100% sure of what you were downloading. You couldn't trust anything, and it could be copied hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. And that's the thing, you had to be extra careful that the peer-to-peer files that you were downloading didn't contain a Trojan or something that could harm your computer. So this is the thing, again, blockchain allows for you to verify things before, to verify digital assets before coming into contact with them, and it depends on mathematics, and it allows for trustless environments. Now, your data, and that simply means that the data that is on the blockchain cannot be copied without permission of the blockchain. It cannot be spent twice. It cannot be double spent. Given, it cannot be manipulated by anybody outside of the ecosystem without sort of a consensus. And that is that. But again, now that's great for kind of now. But what has it done for me lately? Where is the added value benefit to you guys now? We live in a millennial sort of environment where you've got 7-second vines, and everybody needs instant gratification. So, what has blockchain done for me lately? How can I benefit from blockchain today? Well, essentially, the revolution in sort of the cryptographic aspect of blockchain has created a whole host of different tools for people to protect their digital assets as well as their identity. We use a lot of them here at Wirex. Number one, the two main tools. What tools do I hear you ask? Well, the 2 main tools are here. The first one is obviously end-to-end encryption, which has existed before blockchain, but has become immensely more popular since blockchain. These are used in non-blockchain based applications, end-to-end encryption. And the second one is two-factor authentication. Both of these are to protect your digital assets and also to protect your identity. End-to-end encryption is obviously used within WikiLeaks, and to protect sort of people giving some information. And two-factor authentication is used by any mobile phone app developers or website app developers that want to allow to provide a second layer of verification to verify you are the person you say you are and you're not someone trying to hack someone's assets. So this is the thing, like a PIN number or a physical key, and now it's more commonly smartphone two-factor authentication. Using an application or an SMS message to verify you are accessing your account has become immensely more popular since Bitcoin came about and this concept was introduced recently. So this is the thing, blockchain and cryptocurrency has increased the adoption rate of these technologies, as well as help to build and establish them. So that's currently what's come about on top of the 3 applications we spoke about earlier. These use cases have become a lot more popular. But then again, you know, what is next, huh? There is a huge world awaiting us. Well, what about machine-to-machine economics, where we have devices that can talk to each other? What if I had a vending machine, I owned an army of vending machines, and they could speak to their supplier when they ran out of supplies, and provide pay for them to be restocked? You know, what if you had an autonomous vending machines, and that could be a blockchain-based application? Another one is, with regards to gaming, I had this conversation earlier today. What if I had a gaming computer at home that was sitting idly because I work long hours? I'm still here at the Wirex office, nearly 7 o'clock, so 12 hours a day. I'm working and my gaming machine is sitting idly, not being used. What if I could sell that processing power to a cloud-based computing system, and someone sort of in Argentina who had a very good internet connection wanted to play a graphically intensive game, or he wanted to render a video that he could post on YouTube, and he could basically pay for my processing capability whilst I'm at work, and I could earn money from my computer, could earn me money through donating its processing power through a blockchain to some guy in Argentina. Those are two use cases. The third one, what about a political voting system? We just spent a lot of time talking about how blockchain is great for keeping track of people's digital identities. What about votes? Why don't we have a voting system built on a blockchain protocol? And that would mean that everybody has their own private key, and they can only vote once they have their private key, and you can vote from anywhere in the world. So these are just some potential comings of where blockchain can take us in the future. But I mean, that's pretty much everything from that presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I went into a bit more detail. I won't keep you for too long, but I hope you guys have enjoyed that. My name's Raphael. This has been the Wirex crypto Q&A. We'll see if we can do one next week as well, and I hope to see you guys on that one too. And thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Take care, and that's the end of this one.